Hey there, it's Seb Frey here with another exciting episode of Seb Frey TV. I know, of course, I always say this. It's been a long time since my last episode of Seb Frey TV. I have an episode I've been thinking about putting together for some weeks now, and I'm going to call it the American Litmus Test or something like that. So I got this idea a few weeks ago. Actually, it was July 4th, right? So almost a month ago. I was talking to a friend of mine, and he was explaining to me why he thinks it is that so many people support Donald Trump, and he said it comes down to this: they are, anti-abortion, right? That's it. They don't care about anything else, right? They just want to make sure that abortion is illegal in the United States. It's their number one priority issue. It is their litmus test, right? I mean, they are one-issue voters. That's all they care about. They just want an end to abortion, right? So these are evangelicals, of course. But there's a lot of people who are not evangelicals who are, of course, anti-abortion as well. My own parents, they're not evangelicals, but they have been anti-abortion for as long as I've known them, which would be 48 years. And my mom, she said that I'm a single-issue voter. Like, if you support, abortion rights, then I'm not going to vote for you. And I'll vote for anybody who says that they are not going to, support abortion and who are going to work towards making sure the judiciary is stacked with judges who will, get rid of Roe versus Wade. So there are a lot of people who that is their single issue, and everything else can be damned. They don't really care about any of the rest because that is their crucial, critical issue, right? So that's why Trump, who obviously has paid for many abortions. When I say obviously, I don't know for a fact, but we know he had sex with Stormy Daniels without a condom, right? Stormy Daniels is a, sexually promiscuous person, or so it would seem. I don't really know, but that's kind of like her mystique, I would say, at least as it has been presented to me, right? So if you are having unprotected sex with Stormy Daniels, I'm guessing you're having unprotected sex with other people. Trump is a known womanizer, and, rapist, right? I mean, he's been accused of rape, several times. Anyway, so, so we know he doesn't really have safe sexual practices. So likely, given that he's been doing this for 50 plus years, almost 60 maybe, likely, he has had a few other people get pregnant by him, and he probably has paid for a few abortions, and he doesn't care, right, if abortion is illegal in the United States or not, because, if he needed to, he would send a woman to Switzerland or whatever, right? I mean, he has the means, and wealthy people, they'll always have the means to, get around this whole, if abortion were illegalized in the United States, if they had that problem, they would still, take care of it because they have the means to do so, right? And everyone else can be damned. So that is the litmus test that a lot of people are applying to Trump. Another litmus test, which I saw on Facebook the other day, some woman said, hey, give Trump a break, man. The economy is doing so great. It's like, really? Well, I think that's what they said in Germany, hey, give Hitler a break. At least the trains are running on time now, right? Now, I don't want to compare Hitler to Trump, but it's kind of hard not to make that comparison in a way when we have what just happened the other day in El Paso, Texas, right? I mean, he was a white supremacist, right? Went down and killed all these people. The other white supremacist in Charleston who killed all those church members, right? These people are actual terrorists. They're domestic terrorists, right? They have agendas. It's a white nationalist, white supremacist agenda, and it's very clear. And they are happy to use extremely violent, bloody, homicidal tactics to advance their agenda, and it's not cool. I'm not cool with it, and but Trump says he's not okay with it, and he probably isn't really okay with it because politically it's not very good for him, right? To be saying oh yeah, I support gunning down dozens of people. He couldn't really say that probably, right? But at the same time, he did start his campaign by calling Mexican rapists, right? They're rapists. That's an actual quote, and some he assumes are good people. He doesn't actually know any Mexicans, I guess, who are good people. Is that right? He has to assume that some are good people because he doesn't know any. I know lots of Mexicans, tons of them, I mean hundreds maybe, and they're great people by and large, right? Of course, some of them, some Mexicans are criminals, lots of white people are criminals too, right? I mean, in any group of people, obviously some are not going to be, perfect angels, right? Obviously, right? So it is very upsetting when we have a president who is an overt racist. Racism is not a thing, right? It's not you're either racist or not racist. Racism, like autism, is a spectrum, right? It goes all the way from a little tiny bit racist to total, like Nazi white supremacist, right? Well, Trump is probably pretty far to the Nazi white supremacist side of the spectrum. I don't really want to say that he's a Nazi or white supremacist, but he certainly says things which are overtly racist, right? Like calling Mexicans rapists, right? And that some he assumes are good people. That is overt racism. That's not like subtle racism, right? That's overt racism. And my feeling is that if you are an overt racist, that is my litmus test. You cannot be president of the United States, or you should not be president of the United States if you are an overt racist, right? So there's lots of people who are like a little bit racist, right? Like you ever see that movie Crash with Sandra Bullock? If you haven't seen Crash, go watch Crash. I love it. It's actually one of my favorite movies. Like Princess Bride, Y tu mamá también, and Crash are probably my top 3 favorite movies ever. So go and see Crash if you haven't seen it. Great movie, and it shows basically how hey, we're all a little racist or can be at times. Nobody is perfect, right? But Trump, however, he's crossed the line. He's well down deep into overt racist, and I feel that in a country such as ours, which is multicultural, multi-ethnic, multiracial, it is extremely dangerous and unpatriotic, I would say, to be an overt racist. I'm just going to say that. So that is my litmus test. And what's shocking to me is that so many Americans, particularly white Americans, let's just say it, so many white Americans condone overt racism because the economy is doing good. If I was spending $1 trillion in an up economy, just burning that money away, I could make the economy look good too, right? It's not like great magic, right? Just like borrow tons of money and it feels like you're living great, right? We'll have to pay the piper probably not too long from now, but at the moment, things are sort of roaring along, even though the Federal Reserve had to do a rate cut. Why? Because Trump is stoking this, trade war with China. Give you a break. Anyway, but listen, I just want to say that is my litmus test, and I don't understand why it isn't the real litmus test for all of the other Americans out there, right? In view of what just happened yesterday and in Dayton, Ohio, and in Gilroy, my God, Gilroy is 25 miles from my house. These racist mass shootings, right? If you don't get how what the president says up front there when he's standing in front of the podium with the seal of the president of the United States, if you don't see how that sets the tone and sort of encourages people to do this kind of shit, then you really need to take a good hard look at yourself and say, hey, what do I stand for? What are my values? What matters to me? If abortion is your thing, well, I understand no one wants kids to be aborted. I don't think anybody really is in favor of that, right? But there's lots of other things we can work on to reduce the number of abortions, right? We can do that without outright banning abortion, which isn't really actually going to stop abortion. It's just going to make it much more dangerous for all parties involved. Anyway, I don't want to go talk about abortion. I just want to say that is what I have been becoming aware of, is this whole, why people support Trump, but at the same time, I just can't see how anybody can, especially in light of what is going on in this country. Man, there's been 250 mass shootings in the last 250 days. Right? A mass shooting is 3 people or more, right? So that's a hell of a lot of shootings going on, and a lot of it has to do, especially these racially motivated shootings, have to do with the tone that is being set by our commander-in-chief, supposedly. So, all right, well, I just want to get that off my chest, and I'd be curious to know what you think about America's litmus test. Do me a favor, write a comment, or share this with somebody or something. I don't know. Let me know what you think. I'd be curious to see what you're thinking about all this, given the horrific events in El Paso just yesterday. All right, that is it for this episode of Subpride TV. Thank you so much for watching. I wish it was a happier episode, but I just wanted to get that off my chest. All right, you guys have a good day. I'll talk to you later. Bye.